Good evening, class.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, so you are welcome to PSAP class. So today we are going to look at the public sector audit. So for a reminder, as from next week, we will start budget and budgetary control. So most of the topics that we are going to do next week will be based on calculations. So for upper weeks too, our topic will be based on calculation. So my next four lectures now will be based on calculation after this lecture. So today we want to look at public sector audit. So we start with what is an audit? What is an audit? Audit, we are all familiar with audit. We can call audit as an independent examination, or audit is a process carried out by qualified accountant during which accounting record and financial statement of an organization are subjected to examinations by an auditor with the main purpose of expressing opinion in accordance with the terms of appointment. Another definition of audit is audit is an independent appraiser governed by status for examining, command, investigation, and verifying financial statements. In a nutshell, let me just give summary definition of an audit. Audit is an independent examination of financial statements carried out by an appointed qualified person for the purpose of expressing opinion as to whether the financial statement is on true and fair view. So that is simply meaning of audit. When you want to review financial statements, an accountant, CFO, manager, financial manager, all of them, at the end of the year, they will prepare management accounts. So the management account prepared by them, that management account have to be reviewed by an independent person to ensure that that account is prepared on true and fair view. As we have audit in private sector, so we have it in public sectors too. Government financial statements need to be reviewed and examined by an appointed auditor. We should have it in mind that for public sector, the chief external auditor of government of public sector accounting is the Auditor General of the Federation. The Auditor General of the Federation is just like an external auditor to government, though it's a civil servant. Is the one that audits the financial statement of government. So now let's look at, if you want to carry out audits of public sector, you want to audit government ministry, you want to audit government parasasa, what are the statutory regulatory framework of public sector audits? What are the law? What are the law that you need to follow? You need to ensure that your audit is in line with that law. Number one, legal, statutory, and regulatory framework of public sector audit is Nigeria Constitution of 1999. Nigeria Constitution of 1999. Nigeria Constitution of 1999. So if Auditor General want to audit the account of government, you need to review the Constitution of 1999, Nigeria Constitution of 1999. You need to review it. You need to look at it. There is particular section of the Constitution that talk about an aspect that relate to auditing of government accounts, like consolidated revenue. Constitution talk about it. Consolidated revenue accounts. Constitution talk about it. Appointment of Auditor General. Constitution talk about it. So all these aspects, they are stated in the Constitution. So secondly, the other regulatory framework that you need to follow if you want to audit public sector accounting is Audit Act of 1956. Audit Act of 1956. This act is talking about the time limit where in public sector, we have accountant general, we have auditor general. Accountant general are expected that after the end of the year, the government financial statement must be ready. Who prepared the government financial statement is the accountant general. So it must be ready not later than 31st of March of the following year. He must submit it to who? He's going to submit it to Auditor General. Auditor Generals too will review the financial statement within 90 days, which means after 30th of June, not later than 30th of June, sorry. Auditor General must submit audited financial statement of government to the National Assembly. Auditor General does not report to President, rather, he reports to National Assembly. So this Audit Ordinance Act is talking about the time limit for preparation of government financial statements. What is the time limit that Accountant General asks to prepare government financial statement? And what is also the time limit that is required from Auditor General to audit and review the government financial statements? So that is what Audit Act of 1956 is talking about. Apart from that, we also have another one called Financial Control and Management Act of 1958. So that one too is talking about what are the formats for preparing government financial statements. This one is talking, this Financial Control and Management Act is talking about formats for preparing government financial statements. What are the content of government financial statements? So this is what Financial Control and Management Act of 1958 is talking about. Another one that we have Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007. Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007. This act is talking about what control measure can we put in place to ensure financial control, to ensure that there is no reckless spending in public sector, to ensure that all government revenue are duly accounted for, to ensure that government expenditure is properly expensed, is not overstated. So Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007 is financial measure, financial control measure to ensure that there is no reckless spending in public fund, reckless spending of public fund in the country. So another regulatory or statutory framework that we have is Public Procurement Act. Public Procurement Act. The summary of this act is to ensure that there is transparency and accountability for when government want to award contracts. When government want to award contracts, there is transparency and accountability. When government want to look for supplier of goods and services, there is transparency and accountability. This Public Procurement Act state the process for selecting government contractor, state the condition, requirement for bidding for government contract. It states what if you as a company, if you want to bid for government contract, what are the requirements, what are the needs, what are the content, what is expected from you, what are the relevant documents you must have before you can bid for government contract, and what are the process for selecting government contractors. So it is to ensure that there is transparency and accountability in that process of appointing or awarding government contracts. So that is Public Procurement Act of 2007. So there are so many government acts, regulatory framework in this our write-up. So we also have Appropriation Act. Appropriation Act is talking about all government spending, either capital expenditure or recurrent expenditure, must be in line with budgets. This Appropriation Act is talking about government must not spend money that has not been appropriated in the budget. For government to spend any money, that money must have been stated in the budget. And this Appropriation Act is talking about budget process. Budget process. What are the stages of budget? How does government pass budget? What are the time limits for passing budget? Is stated in the Appropriation Act. So those are the statutory and regulatory framework. Now, let's talk about external audits in public sector. External audit in public sector. External audit in public sector. Who is an external auditor in public sector? The chief external auditor in public sector accounting, in public sector, is the Auditor General of the Federation. Auditor General is the chief external auditors. Mind you, for Auditor General, is only he has power and right to audit account of ministries and some agencies. Do you understand? Some agency. In public sector accounting, there is a particular agency called, we call them revenue generating agency. Revenue generating agency, they are NNPC. They are public sector accounting, call them government business enterprise. Government business enterprise. Government business enterprise, they are government agency and department that generate revenue. They render service and they generate revenue. Such government business enterprise, Auditor General cannot audit them. Government business enterprise, they are like NNPC, FAN, NIMASA, MPA, because all these are mentioned, that I mentioned, they generate revenue for government. So they call them GBE, Government Business Enterprise. So what we are saying in essence is, for government business enterprise, Auditor General cannot audit them. Auditor General has power to audit ministry. You can audit Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Transport. Auditor General can also audit National Population Commission. You can audit INEC. You can audit, you understand? Those agencies that don't generate revenue, they are pure public sector. But for government business enterprise, they generate revenue. They are profit-oriented enterprise. Auditor General don't have power to audit them. those government business enterprise, they will appoint external auditors, most especially the big four that will come and audit them. Because the government business enterprise, they don't prepare the financial statement as if they are government entity. They prepare the financial statement as if they are profit-oriented entity. They prepare it as if they are company. So they follow IAS, IFRS, unlike ministry. Ministry don't follow IAS and IFRS. Ministry, if you want to prepare outside financial statement of ministry, you need to follow IPSAS. IPSAS simply means International Public Sector Accounting Standard. So Auditor General, he has knowledge of IPSAS, but Auditor General don't have knowledge of IAS and IFRS. So that is the reason why if NNPC want to appoint external auditor, Auditor General cannot come and audit NNPC because he doesn't understand their operation. Their operation is run as if it's a profit-oriented entity. So Auditor General cannot audit them. The big four, they are the ones that can audit NNPC, FAN, NIMASA, MPA. Because they follow IAS and IFRS. They prepare the financial statement as if they are making profits, but they are owned by government. So when you talk about external auditor in public sector, you need to divide it into two. You need to say Auditor General of the Federation and external auditor for government business enterprise. Mind you, if this government business enterprise want to appoint any auditor, they must write to Auditor General to seek approval. If you, as an auditing firm, you want to be auditing government business enterprise, you want to be auditing them, you need to go and register in the office of Auditor General. It is Auditor General that will recommend to NNPC that these are the category of auditor you can appoint. It is the Auditor General that will recommend to NIMASA that these are the category of auditor you can appoint. If you are external audit firm, you are not registered with the office of Auditor General, they can appoint you to come and audit government business enterprise. So that is it. So we talk about appointments and remuneration of Auditor General. My colleague have talked about this more when he's talking about statutory officer. So, and as we all know, Auditor General is appointed by the President based on the recommendation of the Federal Civil Service, subject to confirmation of the Senate. Subject to what? Confirmation of the Senate. If President appoint Auditor General, Senate must confirm it. Because Auditor General is a statutory officer. He should be independent of the President. He's not reporting to the President. Rather, he's reporting to the National Assembly. So, functions of Auditor General. What are the functions of Auditor General? According to Section 85 of the Constitution, function of Auditor General include the following: power to conduct periodic check. Auditor General, one of his functions is to conduct periodic check on government ministries before the end of the year. So when you want to go and do final audit, he can conduct periodic check. Auditor General also do financial and regulatory audit. At the end of the year, he will audit and express opinion whether that financial statement is of true and fair view. Another function, Auditor General conducts value for money audit. Value for money audit. Value for money audit is based on 3 E's. What are the 3 E's of value for money audit? Efficiency, effectiveness, and economy. Those are the 3 E's of value for money audit. So, number 1 function of Auditor General, as stated in the Constitution, is conduct periodic check. Number 2 function, carried out financial and regulatory audits. While number 3 function, carried out value for money audit. Number 4 function, carry out appropriation audits. Why? Another one, financial control audits. So those are the major functions of Auditor General as stated in the Constitution. Now, Auditor General report to National Assembly through a committee called Public Account Committee. Auditor General report to National Assembly through a committee called Public Account Committee. Apart from that, before we look at that Public Account Committee, let's look at factors that will affect independence of Auditor General. What are the factors that will affect independence of Auditor General? What factor will affect independence of Auditor General? Number 1 factors that will affect independence of Auditor General is the 1999 Constitution does not grant Auditor General the right and responsibility to hire and firing of his staff. We said, that Auditor General is supposed to be independent of President. He's supposed not to be reporting to President. But there are some factors that affect his independence that it seems is not independent. Factor that affects him for him not to be independent. Number 1 is that Auditor General does not have power to say, Office of Auditor General, there are some auditors working under Auditor General. Auditor General does not have power to say, I want to employ or I want to sack any staff working in the Office of Auditor General. No. If any staff misbehave in the Office of Auditor General, they have to report the staff to Federal Civil Service Commission. It is the Federal Civil Service Commission that will sanction the staff, that will discipline the staff. Auditor General does not have power to discipline his staff. It affects his independence. In other countries, Office of Auditor General is not under control of Federal Civil Service Commission. The staff of Auditor General, they are not under Federal Civil Service Commission in other countries. They are independent of their own. So that is one factors that affects independence of Auditor General. Another factors that affect independence of Auditor General is Auditor General is not empowered to appoint external auditor for public sector corporation and agency. What we mean by this, that government business enterprise, they are public sector corporation and agency. Since Auditor General cannot audit them, It's supposed to be the one that will appoint the external auditor for them that, PwC, go and audit NNPC, KPMG, go and audit NIMASA. But he does not have the power. He only recommends the list of qualified external auditor to the board of those government business enterprise. It is the board of NNPC that will appoint external auditor from the list of qualified auditor recommended by Auditor General. But what people are saying now is board supposed not to be the one that will appoint. It's supposed to be Auditor General because they are doing the work of Auditor General. They are helping Auditor General. All those external auditor auditing NIMASA, auditing NNPC, auditing FAN, they are assisting Auditor General. Why? Because they believe Auditor General don't know IAS and IFRS. Auditor General only know international public sector accounting. That is the reason why they engage external auditor to come and audit them. Another factor that affects independence of Auditor General. Auditor General lack power to execute and enforce compliance or sanction on the report presented to Public Account Committee. It does not have power to sanction any staff that misbehave or to prosecute any staff that, you steal government money. It does not have that power. It will only audit and say, this is what I find from the auditor. It cannot have power that said, I want to ensure compliance, so I want to block leakages, so it does not have the power. So those are the factors that affect independence of Auditor General. So like I said earlier, Auditor General report to National Assembly through a committee called Public Account Committee. Auditor General report to National Assembly through a committee called Public Account Committee. So, what is Public Account Committee? This is a committee of National Assembly that perform post-mortem function of the financial statement presented by the Auditor General. After Auditor General prepare the financial statement and they present the financial statement to the National Assembly through this committee, it is this committee that will review the financial statements. They will review the financial statements. They will review it. That government financial statement audited by Auditor General. After finishing his audit, he will send it to National Assembly through this Public Account Committee. So, what are the functions of Public Account Committee? What are the functions of Public Account Committee? Function of Public Account Committee. Number one function of Public Account Committee, they deliberate on Auditor General reports. They deliberate on Auditor General reports. Number two function, they summon accounting officer to appear before the committee. Another function, they examine any officer on oaths. And also, they recommend to the president any action to be taken on any offending officer. They recommend to the president on any action to be taken on any offending officer. So those are the functions of Auditor General of the Federation. Now, function of public account committee. So they carry out any other function as assigned to them by the National Assembly from time to time. Carry out any other duty as required by the National Assembly from time to time. Now, let's look at audit evidence in public sector. If you are carrying out audit in public sector, what are your audit evidence? Sources of audit evidence in public sector is divided into two. We have internal source and external audit evidence. External source of audit evidence now. External source of audit evidence. What are the external source of audit evidence? External source of audit evidence. The suppliers, the contractors, the medias, the legal advisors, all these, they are what? External source of audit evidence. They are external source of audit evidence. Now, let's look at internal audit in public sector. In an organization, in company, we have external auditor. We also have internal auditor. You understand? We have external auditor. We also have internal auditor. Internal auditor is a resident auditor. Is the one that will be auditing the day-to-day activity of the organization. As we have it in private sector, in company, we also have it in government. Apart from external auditor general, every ministry, every department, every agency, they will have a department called Department of Internal Audit. Department of Internal Audit. So what is internal audit? What is internal audit? Internal audit is an independent appraiser of activities within an organization. Independent appraiser of activities within an organization for the review of operation as a service to management. When you are reviewing activities within an organization, you are doing internal audit job. The major difference between internal audit and external audit is external audit report to the shareholder, while internal audit report to the management. Independent appraiser of activities within an organization for the review of operation as a service to management. At the end of the day, the internal audit report, the internal auditor is going to submit it to management. He cannot submit to shareholder. So in public sectors too, every ministry, every department, agency, parastatals, they have internal audit departments. Objective of internal audits. Objective of internal audits. What are the objective of internal audits? Objective of internal audits. Number one objective of internal audits is to determine the adequacies of internal control system. To determine the adequacy of internal control system. To determine the adequacy of system of internal control, which is in existence. Every organization, they will have an internal control. Internal control means the control that we put in place to ensure that our fund is properly protected, our revenue is properly protected, is safeguarded, to ensure that we don't have wastage. So one function, one of the objectives or functions of internal audit is to determine, one of the objectives of internal audit is to determine the adequacy of system of internal control system. to determine the adequacy of system of internal control. Number two objective of internal audit is to investigate compliance with existing financial memorandum. To investigate compliance with existing financial memorandum. Government ministry, department, they will, if they are doing the account, they normally follow a law called financial memorandum. Financial memorandum. So internal audit will ensure that that ministry, when they are preparing the financial statement, they prepare it in line with government financial memorandum and law and financial regulation. Another objective of internal audit is to check adequacy of monthly returns activities. To check adequacy of monthly return activities. To check adequacy of monthly returns activities. Another objective of internal audit is to carry out verification of fiscal existence of assets and liability. To carry out verification of fiscal existence of assets and liabilities. To carry out verification of fiscal existence of assets and liability. Function of internal audit. What are the functions of internal audit? Number one function of internal audit is to carry out prepaid audits, prepayment audits, prepayment audits, prepayment audits. One function of internal audit is prepayment audits. In an organization, before you pay an invoice, you have to pass the invoice to internal audit department for cross-check. Internal audit have to cross-check the invoice to ensure that they are correct. So prepaid audit is an audit that is carried out before payments. The prepaid audit is an audit that is carried out on a payment voucher before a payment is initiated. An audit that is carried out on a payment voucher before a payment is initiated is prepaid audit. Another function of internal audit, vouching of payroll and third-party claim. If HR finishing preparing their payroll, they will send it to internal audit to vouch, to check whether it's correct or wrong. A claim by third parties too. If you want to make payment for a claim by third party, internal audit will check. Another function of internal audit, auditing the store movements and record. They audit stock. How do you move stock out of the country? How do you receive stock? When they carry out stock takings, periodic stock taking, internal audit carry out periodic stock taking. Maybe it's every month they will be carrying out the stock taking, or every week. It depends. Internal audit carried out periodic stock takings. Internal audit also conducts internal investigation as required by management. Maybe there is a fraud in an organization. Before the fraud before the management we explode the fraud, internal audit have to carry out investigation. How does the fraud happen? who carry out the fraud? Who are the officers involved? What control measure that we put in are we going to put in place to ensure that such kind of fraud will not happen again? So internal audit conduct internal investigation and evaluation of management. Another one, constant review and appraisal of existing internal control measure. The internal auditor, they will be the one to be reviewing the internal control measures. They will be reviewing it consistently. They will be updating it consequently. You cannot have just one internal control for like 20 years, for like 10 years. You need to be reviewing it because as from time to time, there are new way in which people carry out fraud. So people will have some new technique of carrying out fraud. So for you to guide that too, you need to be reviewing your internal control system. So that is that. So like I said, prepayment audit is an audit carried out before payment is effected. An audit that you carried out before payment is effected is prepayment audits. Apart from that, internal audit also carried out for post-payment audits. Post-payment audit. Internal audits also carried out prepayment audit. Post-payment audit means an audit that is carried out after payment has been made for the goods and services. After they have made the payment, audit that is carried out. How do we carry out post-payment audits? You check. We made the payment for, we order for 150 units of laptop, and we have made the payment. For me to carry out post-payment audit, do we actually receive 50 units of, how many units of laptop do we receive? The laptop that we receive, is it the product stated in the pro forma invoice before we made the payment? Is the appropriate tax deducted after we have made the payments? So all these are post-payment audits. All these are what? Post-payment audits. Post-payment audits. So now let's look at another idea. 5 assessments that an external auditor should carry out before relying on internal audit, on the work of internal auditor. External auditor cannot do audit by starting from 0 level. No, he has to rely on the work of what internal audit have done. It's from what internal audit has done that the external auditor will now do review. So as an external auditor, if you want to rely on the work of internal auditor, what are the factors that you need to consider for you to rely on the work of internal auditor? What are those factors that you need to consider for you to rely on the work of internal auditor? Number 1 factors, the degree of independence of the internal auditor. The degree of independence of the internal auditor. You look at this kind of internal auditor, is he independent at all? Or he does not independent? Is it somebody that is not, he does not have confidence? He doesn't have charisma to ask questions. on how this transaction is being expended. So one of the factors that you consider is the degree of independence of internal auditors. Another factor, the scope and objective of internal auditor. You need to look at what are the scope and objective of internal. Does the scope and internal objective of internal auditor tally with the auditing guideline and objective? You need to consider that. Another factors that you are going to consider why auditing, if you want to depend on the work of internal auditor as an external auditor, the due professional care, the level of due professional care carried out by internal audit while doing the audit. Due professional care. What are the level of due professional care does the internal auditor carry out? Again, another factor, technical competence of the internal auditor. Does the internal auditor have technical competence? Does he have up-to-date knowledge? Technical competence simply means you are having updated knowledge in your field. Take, for instance, you are a tax consultant. For you to have a technical competence, it means you are going to know the recent finance arts. Eh? Take, for instance, somebody that have qualified 10 years ago. When we went for an audit. The man has qualified 10 years ago. We are now auditing them. The incident happened last year. Funny enough, the man does not know that the rate of VAT have changed from 5% to 7.5%. He's still using 5%. And he's a qualified accountant. That one means that person does not have technical competence. He does not have updated knowledge. Technical competence means you have updated knowledge of IFRS. You have updated knowledge of IAS. You have updated knowledge of TAS. You have updated knowledge of IT in your field. So, external auditor, we look at this internal auditor. Does he have updated knowledge? Does he have practical experience? That is technical competence. Another factors that is going to be considered by external auditor before relying on the work of internal auditor, the quality of the audit report. That internal audit report, is it of quality? If it is of quality, you can rely on it. The standard of working paper, the working paper used by internal auditor, is it of standard? Is it in line with international standard of auditing? ISA, International Standard of Auditing, on how we arrange working paper. Because in audit, there are two types of working paper. We have a permanent working paper and we have current audit working paper. Permanent audit working paper, they are the one that you are going to put a certificate of incorporation, memo and article of association, history of the company. But the current audit paper, that one is talking about where you are going to put the audit bank statements, the fixed asset registers, the payment vouchers, working paper. For you to arrange working paper, you need to follow the standard of auditing guideline. So if the working paper is standard, external auditor can rely on his work. So those are the factors that need to be considered by external auditor before relying on the work of internal auditor. Now, let's differentiate between internal auditor and external auditor. What are the differences between internal auditor and external auditor? Number one differentiation in terms of appointment. Internal auditor is appointed by shareholder, while external auditor are appointed by the management. Number two, the role and work. The role of an internal auditor is to express opinion on the true and fair view of the audited financial statements. While the role of internal auditor is to review the operation and recommend for improvement to the management. In terms of qualification, for you to be an external auditor, you must be a qualified accountant. For you to be an external auditor, you must be a qualified accountant. For you to own an external audit firm, you must be a qualified accountant. But in the case of internal auditor, it does not mean you may not be a qualified accountant. Even some people go in some government organization, you see some people, some staff, they are internal audit staff, and they did not read accounting. They read English, Yoruba in school, and they are appointed as internal audit staff. That is government ministry. Another difference is the scope of work of the scope in terms of scope. The scope of internal auditor is determined by the audit committee, while the scope of external auditor is determined by the audit committee, while the scope of internal auditor is determined by the management. In terms of reporting, internal auditor report to member of the company, while external auditor report to member of the company, while internal auditor report to audit committee. So that is the difference between internal audit and external audit. Now, let's look at a concept called assurance engagement. Assurance engagement. What is assurance engagement? Assurance engagement in public sector. They are inquiry commissioned by government to find out causes of an event and provide remedial action to guide against further occurrence of such events. An inquiry is a commission's assurance engagement. They are inquiry commissioned by government to find out causes of events and provide remedial action. When there is a fraud in an organization, in a government, somebody steal government money, government can set up a committee to investigate such kind of missing fund. Such committee, they are doing assurance engagement. They want to find out what is the causes, why the fund is missing. What action do we need to put in place to ensure that such events will not occur again? That is assurance engagement. Assurance engagement does not necessarily carried out by accountants. It can be carried out by anybody. Assurance engagement can be carried out by anybody. So, but what we are concerned now is what are the content of assurance engagement or step involving assurance engagement? If you want to carry out assurance engagement, what are the steps involved? You review financial statements. Number one step, you review financial statements. Number two, you review the system. You review the system. That is the number two. You review the system. After reviewing the system, you evaluate the application of relevant financial legislation. You evaluate the application of relevant financial legislation. After that, you conduct compliance tests. When you conduct compliance, if you are certified, you may write your final reports. But if you are not certified with evidence given you by a compliance test, you go further to do what is called substantive tests. Substantive test is a detailed test of transactional balances to ensure that there is arithmetic accuracy. You trace the transaction from where it originates. Substantive tests in audit, we have audit tests. There are two audit tests, compliance test and substantive test. Compliance test is carried out to ensure that the internal control is being applied as prescribed in theory and in practice. Why substantive test is more detailed than compliance test? You are testing the transaction one by one. In compliance test, you do sampling. Then in substantive test, you review all the file. You review all the file. You are not doing sampling. In substantive test, you are not doing sampling. You review all the file. After conducting substantive test, you write your final report. Those are the steps involving assurance engagement. Those are the steps involving assurance engagement. Content of assurance report. If you want to write assurance report, what are the contents of assurance report? If you want to write assurance report, what are the contents? Number one, confirmation of amount of losses. You confirm this is amount that was lost. Number two, the regulation. You ascertain the regulation which was violated for law for government fund to be missing. It means they have break one or two rules. For somebody to embezzle government fund, he did not follow the proper process. It means he has break one or two rules. So you need to confirm the regulation that was violated. After that confirmation, you recommend to effect correction and prevent reoccurrence. You recommend to effect correction and prevent reoccurrence. It's part of the content. The name and officer involved in such investigation will be stated. The degree of negligence of individual officer. What are the negligence? What are the weakness that happen for such kind of events to happen? The degree of negligence of individual officer has to be in the content of recommendation and necessary sanction. You recommend and said, some people have to go. Some people have to lose their job. Some people have to be sanctioned. So those are the content of assurance engagement. Now, step to be taken in auditing financial statement. If you want to audit financial statement, what are the steps that you need to take for you to audit financial statements? Number one step is to review the financial statements. Is to do what? Review the financial statements. After you reviewing the financial statement, number two step is to review internal control system of the ministry. Is to review internal control system of the ministry and departments. While number three step is to plan the audit. You do audit planning. How do you do audit planning? By doing, you allocate the audit job, audit work to all the audit staff. You do stock taking. You do fixed asset register. You do payment voucher. You do bank statement review. Is part of audit planning. Number next, you now conduct compliance tests on the transactions you are auditing. You conduct compliance tests on all the transactions you are auditing. If the results given by compliance tests is not reliable, you go further to go and do what? Substantive tests. Substantive tests mean you ask them to bring all the documents. You are going to review all the payment voucher. You are going to review all the bank statements. You are going to review everything in substantive tests. So by carrying out substantive tests, you verify, you do fixed asset verification, you ask for proof of ownership, you review computation, you check arithmetic accuracy. At the end of the day, after you do your substantive test, you now write your audit report. That is your final audit report. Now, let's look at a concept called value for money audit. Value for money audit is one of the functions of Auditor General. What is value for money audit? Why do you carry out value for money audit? What is value for money audit? Why do we carry out value for money audit? Value for money audit can be defined as deriving maximum benefit from utilization of scarce resources. Deriving maximum benefit from utilization of scarce resources. In a nutshell, value for money audit simply means an audit that is based on 3 E's. What are the 3 E's of value for money audit? Efficiency, effectiveness, and economy. Efficiency, effectiveness, and economy. Those are the 3 E's of value for money audit. Component of value for money audit. Component of value for money audit. Component of value for money audit. Number 1 component of value for money audit is economy. What does economy is saying? Economy is saying that government spending the process of acquiring government resources at the least possible cost. Economy is saying that if you want to give out a contract, you give it to the contractor that give us the lowest amount of bids that will not affect the quality of the contracts. So efficiency simply means the process of acquiring government resources at the least possible cost. The process of acquiring government resources at the least possible cost is what is called efficiency. Economy. The process of acquiring resources or the process of acquiring government resources at the least possible cost. That is economy. Why efficiency? Simply means how do you use our resources? Efficiency is talking about how do we use our resources? The best utilization of available resources. The maximum. So in efficiency, we are saying that we will get maximum output from minimum input. From little resources, we are going to get good resource. So efficiency is talking about the best possible way of using government resources to achieve maximum output. The best possible way of using government resources to achieve maximum output. That is efficiency. Why effectiveness is talking about how do we use available resources? How do we use? We don't have enough resources. The little resources we have, how do we use it to achieve desired results, desired objective? Let me differentiate between efficiency and effectiveness. A staff in an organization may be effective, but it's not efficient. Effectiveness means you are following the desired objective. Effectiveness, your resumption time is 8 o'clock. You resume in 8 o'clock. Your closing time is 5 o'clock. You close at the right time. You are effective. You are not absent. You normally come to work at the right time. You are effective. But efficiency means coming to work does not mean you are doing office job. Some people, they are efficient. They are effective. They are not efficient. At the working hour, they will open their laptop. They will be using the laptop for their personal job. They will be watching film, Facebook. It's not efficient, but they are effective. They are at workplace, but they are not doing what is required from them. They are not efficient. So, step involving value for money audit. If you want to carry out value for money audit, what are the steps involved in value for money audit? Step involved in value for money audit. What are the steps involved in value for money audits? Number one step, carried out initial analysis of the project area. Value for money audit. You want to audit an aspect of the government. You may want to audit government revenue, or you want to audit government expenditure. Resources of government is what value for money audit is talking about. How do you audit government resources? How government use the resources? How do we audit them? So number one step is carried out initial analysis of the project area. You look at which area I want to audit in government, or which area I want to audit. Is it payroll I want to audit? Is it expenditure I want to audit? Is it revenue I want to audit? Adequate planning. You plan for that audit, for that value for money audit. You plan. You plan. After the adequate planning, introduction of the main study area to the auditee. You now go to the people you want to audit. You introduce yourself to them, and you tell them the scope of job you want to do, the scope of work you want to do. And after that, carry out compliance tests, as we have it in the general audit. You also carry out substantive tests if the compliance test is not reliable. After that, you write your report. After writing your report, you follow up on actions involved. You follow up on actions involved. You follow up on actions involved. So the next area that we should look at is factors contributing to effective value for money audit. Factor contributing to effective value for money audit. Number one factor, independence of the auditor. If the auditor is so independent, we have effective value for money audit. Number two factor is scope of the auditor. The scope of the auditor will also contribute to effective value for money audit. Number three, the professionalism and expert of the auditor, the skill of the auditor. This one is talking about technical competence of the auditor. Does the auditor have adequate knowledge, updated knowledge? Second, number four, the resources at the auditor disposal. You give somebody an assignment to go and do carry value for money audit. What are the resources do you give to him? What are the funds do you give to him? Eh? What are the supporting documents do you give to him? Eh? If you want to have effective value for money audit, the more they give us documents, the more we have effective audit. The more they give us documents, the more we have effective audit. Another factor that you need to consider, unrestricted access to record. When the auditor is doing the value for money audit, they are not restricting access to employee, access to company property, access to record. They are giving him the record. They give him the staff that if he has a question from his staff, the staff answer. He can check the company property. All this will contribute to effective value for money audit. Stakeholder support. If you are doing value for money audit, you need support of stakeholder. Those people that you are going to be auditing, they need to give you some support. If they don't give you support, you may not have effective value for money audits. You may not have effective value for money audits. So those are the major areas. So for the sake of time, let's look at challenges of public sector audit in Nigeria. In Nigeria, what are the challenges of public sector audits? Number one, auditors independence. Auditor General is not independent because he cannot employ staff on his own. He cannot sack any staff on his own. So it's affecting the independence of Auditor General. Auditor General is not independent. It's one of the challenges of public sector audit. It's not independent enough. Another reason why Auditor General is not independent is the president that appoints him. And president can sack him, though with the support of the member of the National Assembly, which is the Senate. Another problems and challenges of external public sector audit in Nigeria is the area of financial autonomy. Office of the Auditor General don't have financial autonomy. They don't have financial autonomy. They can't spend money on their own. They have to collect authority from Ministry of Finance. When Ministry of Finance is controlling Office of Auditor General, how do you expect him to be independent? So, the recommendation is Office of Auditor General should be separate. It should not be under control of Ministry of Finance. Belated financial statements. Belated financial statements means sometimes government, they will have accumulated financial statements. They will now give it to Auditor General. Go and be auditing. Take, for instance, now, Accountant General, 2016 audited financial statement, 17 audited financial statement, 19 audited financial statement, and 20 audited financial statement was prepared together at the same time. They now give it to Auditor General. Go and audit. He has an assignment to audit 4 years account together, related financial statement. How do you expect him to get quality reports? It will not get. belated financial statement, accumulated financial statement is accumulated. Normally, it's every year. Accountant General should be preparing the audited financial statement and submit it to Auditor General. But there is a delay in 2015, 16, 17, 18, until 20 that they now do it together. They now submit it. They submit 4 years audited financial statement to Auditor General to go and audit. It's a challenge. Belated financial statement. They may not get meaningful results. Ineffective public account committee. The Committee of National Assembly that's supposed to be supervising the work of Auditor General, them too, they are after their own pocket. They are not effective. They are not effective. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. Audit Alarm Committee too. There is a committee called Audit Alarm Committee, Whistleblowing Committee. Them too, they are not effective again. They are not effective. They just set up the committee. At the end of the day, they will be asking for Ghana must go. Inadequate personnel. Office of Auditor General does not have enough personnel. They don't have enough personnel. They don't have adequate personnel. The staff working under the Office of Auditor General, they are very minimal compared to the level of work, the number of jobs that they are doing. So all these are challenges, corruptions too. Auditor General or staff of Auditor General, they are all human beings. When they go to ministry, departments to go and audit, at the end of the day, they will be asking for, instead of them to ask for the records, they will be asking for other things. Them too, they need to feed their family. You understand? Corruption and mismanagement is one of the problems and challenges of public sector audit. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any question, any query?
Thank you very much, sir, for the lecture delivery. So out of curiosity, one of the okay, this question is around Auditor General's independence, and then so out of curiosity, I just want to ask a question. Now, is it more of the appointment of the General of the Federation that hinders his independence? More like because it's the president that appoints him, or is more around the fact that he cannot really discipline, erring members? Because I'm thinking about it that in a way, if if I have that power to discipline those that are working with me, I could easily fire those that I know that these guys, they will not want to cooperate with me if I am meant to do something, So I could really fire them if I have the autonomy to fire. So is it more of that autonomy not being given to him that affects his independence, or more of the presidential selection or appointments? That's just my question.
Oh, thank you very much. It's more of autonomy. It's not about the president appointment. It's more of autonomy. Take, for instance, the Chief Justice of the Federation is appointed by Auditor General. But the Chief Justice have a power to sanction, to discipline any hearing justice. Do you understand? In the area of justice, judiciary, there are some level of independence that they have, despite that president appoint them to some extent. I'm not saying they have total independence. So what we are saying in essence too, there should be Office of Auditor Generals too should be independence on their own. It should be more of independent. It should not be under any executive as it is right now. Office of Auditor General is indirectly under Ministry of Finance, which is part of executive, which they are reporting to president. It should be independent office on their own.
Yeah.
Just like INEC,
Okay.
Chief Justice. So that is it.
Thank you very much, sir, for that
Yeah,
insight.
yeah. Any other query? Any questions? Any questions again? So in the
Sir,
absence, okay,
sorry, sir.
continue.
No, my own is not a question. It's just like I just observed that last week we tweeted this thing. What is it called? A federation accounts. I thought
Okay.
that is what we're supposed to do this week. I don't know when we do we change this thing or
We
not.
have two lecturer. We have two lecturer.
Oh,
Not
okay,
the one
okay,
that
okay.
last week.
Oh,
Is
okay,
the
all right. Thank you, sir.
so by next lecture, it will continue from where he stopped. So my next topic too is based on calculation, is budgets and budgetary control system in public sector. That budget and budgetary control in the public sector is every diet question around that please normally come out. So we need to prepare for that. So it has a lot of calculations. In that place, in that topic, we are going to do 6 calculations, at least 6 or 8 calculations. So, and it will take us like 3 or 2 weeks. So we need to prepare for that as from my next lecture. I will not be the one to take next lecture. So it will be my colleague. After that, my own next lecture will be budget and budgetary control. So it's an important area in public sector accounting, which most especially at least 25 mark questions normally come out from that area. So we need to pay more attention to that place, that topic. Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, so I just want to also ask this question. From your
Okay.
own assessment, this topic that we just treated on auditing, very interesting subject.
Yeah.
But I observe that we have quite a lot of interrelated topics, I mean, content regarding assurance, regarding those other subtopics that we've done, like content of this, and it's looking more like, okay, it's similar. We've mentioned something around conducting compliance tests, conducting substantive tests, under value for audit.
Money
We
audit.
mentioned that,
Under the audit review of audited financial statement, we mentioned that
yeah,
is
we
out.
mentioned that. So, from your own assessment of questions, the way it comes, do we have a standard, like, even if such thing come out, you can say, okay, the first thing is talk about assessing, analyze the job
Okay,
to be
more
done.
in this topic that I just treated, most of the questions that normally come out is the area of that value for money audit. Value for money audit. They may ask you to discuss the component of value for money audit.
Mm,
Secondly, they may ask you to discuss steps involved in carrying out value for money audit. Another area that normally come out is the area of internal audit. They may ask you what are the functions of internal audit. They may
mm,
ask you what are the factors that external audit need to consider to rely on the work of internal audit.
okay. Mm,
Do you understand?
mm.
So value for
That is,
money audit and internal audit are very key in this topic. Value for money audit and most of the question in ICANN on audit is normally based on value for money audit, internal audit, value for money audit, internal audit. Sometimes they may not ask function of auditor general. Do you understand? There was a diet they asked, what are the factors that affect independence of auditor general? So those are the areas that we need to just monitor.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. So any other question?